Hey there, coaches. So, first off, my name is Rachel Feldman. Maybe some of you know me, maybe you don't. My story is pretty simple. I created my business, Rachel's Wellness, back in 2010, and I struggled. I did not know how to create a list builder, offers, deliver any content. And I really struggled with many of the questions that you guys ask me. What we are going to dive into today, because there are many videos on my YouTube channel, which is Rachel Feldman, many videos even on my site, which is rachelafeldman.com. And also, if you go to my site, you can listen to some of the coaches that I've interviewed who have had success and really share behind the scenes what it takes. Many of you ask me for templates and you ask me for funnel suggestions. A funnel is as divine and intuitive and beautiful as your cellular makeup. It's very different for each person. A funnel that truly works, whether it's a freebie to an offer, a webinar to an offer, or a challenge to an offer, whether you work virtually or whether virtually one-on-one, or whether you're doing groups, or whether you're prepping to go back into your brick and mortar, this is going to be extremely helpful. Please, anyone in the comments, just drop how you work with people, virtually one-on-one, virtually groups, do it yourself, courses, membership, so that we can really, hey Julie, hey Mike, so that we can also create simple trainings like this. I know I often, if you don't know me, tend to go very big vision when it comes into teaching about coaching, because the truth is there are a lot of moving parts, but at the fundamental stage, you have to know this simple kind of template. I started working on this today because I'm teaching offers in my membership, and the same time, for the greater good, I always have said, for the coach struggling like I was and really needs the template, I'm going to deliver that. And I go, of course, more specific in my membership, and of course, trainings that we provide, more like master classes. So let's get started on, let's get started right on this process that I just was working on. Somebody in our free group, her name is Michelle, who bought our 12-month content, which can be used for a membership, can even be used as a group, individual master classes, and even in your one-on-one. So many people ask us why, how can you do that? I will save that for another training. This specific training is a process, because many of us think list building is simply getting somebody to the freebie, the webinar, the challenge, direct contact, but list building happens in the awareness funnel. If you are in my free group, or you're even at any of, my blog or podcast or lives like this, you will see that I often have a triangle, a funnel, showing a whole business funnel, talking about the awareness part before list building. And that awareness part before you're bringing anybody to a free or paid call to action. Right now, an action step for you would be to even write down, what are your goals for July? What are you launching? What are you offering? For Michelle, of course, I'm using this as a case study. Michelle is launching the 12-month content, and she has decided to do the list building as a webinar. Again, this applies to anything, any call to action that creates the awareness funnel, leading people to your paid offer. I want to show you that we can do this in a number of different ways. So for Michelle, this is for you. Your awareness is the stories. It's even the behind the scenes of what you do, and relating it, of course, to your paid offer. How do we do that? We reverse engineer and we look at the content that we have and we write down topics. The awareness is where you start to get people's attention. You create that buzz. The buzz is you get people excited. That's where we love to even show the behind the scenes. Hey guys, I'm working on this webinar on X topic. Hey, I can't wait to release this masterclass or membership or group because I'm talking about these topics. And then in your awareness, which we talk about in my membership, that awareness is actually where that conversion starts to happen because people are watching you. They're watching you on your feed. They're watching you, whatever feed, Facebook, Instagram, YouTube. Yes, please use YouTube. That is where you are truly working with search engine optimization. They may see you on Pinterest, both, again, working with SEO optimization because YouTube and Pinterest, being the second platform, work directly with SEO. We'll get into that on another time. But if you do want SEO basics, that is also on my podcast. I interviewed a woman who works with health and wellness coaches on SEO. But the basics of SEO for you guys as a wellness entrepreneur is you have to know where people are finding you. Marketing, digital marketing is an assumption of our clients' behaviors and where they go to search. The algorithms change all the time, but we're really also looking at, if we were to say in the most basic terms, our clients' habits, where they search. And for most of us, especially in the beginning stages and even growth stages, we don't know. So I hope that you are laying out the topics, doing things like Pinterest post. You can use a blog, which we're covering in our membership this month, to really stream out and dominate the digital market on a number of different platforms. LinkedIn, Pinterest, your Facebook page. Of course, maybe it's a different version of the social media post on a Facebook page versus a group, hence cold and warm audience. You, of course, are going to do this different if you're doing Facebook ads. And there's a lot of different strategies, guys, that we can all use. Most importantly, we have to know the beginning basic fundamentals. To build an empire, we have to know the foundation for our home. And your business is your home. And so leveling up and growing is all going to be depending on one process that you start to add in advanced strategies so that actual money that you're paying out to people and or service providers truly up levels your business, and also the money actually comes back into your pocket. So we're going to say that Michelle is doing those steps. And don't feel like you have to be on every platform. You're repurposing and reusing content. For example, if she's bringing to the webinar, she is going to go to that one PowerPoint and she's going to pull out some of the images, make screenshots, which are why our workshops are so beneficial, because you don't have to make that content. You can take a picture of the exact slide. You can even put that picture into Canva, resize it. You could even, of course, resize it and make different, social media presentations, even on PowerPoint. Keep it simple, guys. And so we're going to assume that she is taking her workshop, her promotion sales workshop, her webinar, and she's going to, of course, create the awareness. That may be 3 to 4 lives before the webinar over a 2-week period. That might be that she is emailing her newsletter list and really diving into what we call the soap opera sequence. Please also take the next action step and Google that. There are tons of leaders like Russell Brunson and digital marketers who talk about the soap opera sequence, hitting the pain, the solution, your personal story, a success story. It's a really great marketing tool that can actually be used in any platform. And that's going to help you see what you need to also share about if you really use that same email marketing soap opera sequence to tell that pre-story before the webinar. Hence, you see, if somebody is coming into your promotion directly for the webinar, and Michelle, I'm speaking to you, lady, because you asked me specifically, can you make a funnel from a freebie to a webinar to, of course, the sales product? Well, that's what we've been taught, guys. And this is the biggest issue I see in the industry across the board. And for health and wellness professionals, it's truly killing our business because we are not the standard digital marketing. We have to know that maybe our ideal client, let's call her Sally, she may not want to come to the webinar, but she's really interested in this freebie. And so testing out different images for your freebie instead of focusing for an hour on changing covers is actually what most successful digital marketers do. We spend more time testing the message and split testing our covers. Does somebody like a picture with food? Do they like a picture with a woman having success? What age? What gender? I mean, women, what age? What color of woman? Who is your ideal client? Does she like a picture with a family? Does she like a picture with her significant other? That's where we truly understand our ideal client. So let's just say hypothetically, she's taking one on skinny waters because her ideal client is really interested in weight loss. And she says, hey, it's summer. I'm going to teach on skinny waters, but I'm also going to use the other Instagram image. I'm going to give myself 20 minutes to create 12, 14 images that can all used on different platforms. So I'm going to have one on infused waters, weight loss waters, vitamin waters, infused waters. I'm going to go to Mind Body Green and or look at Google Analytics for what people are searching. Or you can just say, I'm taking a chance and you test it. Either way, she's going to start promoting this freebie. Maybe that's on a blog. Maybe the freebie is actually in the awareness funnel. It's a like precursor to her webinar. She could have the freebie, and we have to think, well, Sally may not be interested in the workshop or the webinar because Sally's busy. She's a 9-to-5er. She's got kids. She just is like, there is no way I'm getting on a webinar at 8. I'll catch the replay. Or maybe she just totally forgets about it, but she loves this freebie. So that freebie, she opts in. She immediately gets an AR. For those of you like me who were like, what are these words? That is an automatic responder. For those of you who aren't even doing automation, or maybe you don't even know how to do automation and can't figure it out, don't stress. You can have somebody sign up for a freebie, and even on the thank you page of your form, just say, here, download this. If you want to hop on a one-on-one call or jump on this webinar. Some people do both. It really depends on your client and how they like to process information. So that automatic responder, which I do encourage to have it in automation because that will save you time, but automation does not replace human contact. Please write that down. Automation does not replace human contact. So as we're looking at this flow of actually each sales funnel, each funnel based on different human behaviors, we might say, Sally came into the freebie. We have an AR with an invite to the one-on-one. Hey, If you want to schedule one-on-one, click here. Here's a little about me. Love, Michelle. P.S. I'm hosting a webinar on X date. If you want to join, click here. It's one very simple email responder. We all have that template. We also have to do the personalization. I often said hit reply because I learned in the behavior of people, sometimes they just want that quick fix. That quick fix is for me to say in caps, hey, and if you just want to talk to me now, hit reply. It's also a strategy that often works best with people because we want instant gratification. And the key to create unbelievable conversions is to know that part of just human behavior. Now, I can, of course, do a follow-up. Again, look at the soap opera sequence because it's really interesting. And Russell Brunson truly goes into it in detail in .com Secrets and or many of his free, Free, free videos all over. Whether you use ClickFunnels or not, look at people for their superpower, their zone of genius, and watch and learn. Most of our education past school and our formal education is actually the education in life. And that's why it's really essential to look at a person and follow. If you love Amy Porterfield and it's been really helpful for you, guess what? Follow her sales process. Once we depersonalize and come out of the overwhelm, we step into massive clarity, and then we can see how people operate in their funnels. So this might be a follow-up. Oh, I said webinar. This might be a follow-up to the webinar. And I'm going to, of course, reverse engineer from the webinar topic and feed in some topics, hence also reducing the need for creating content constantly. Instead, we're using the webinar. Some of you might even have a handout from the webinar, and you want to give this as a free little bonus gift. If that person does, of course, opt into the webinar, they're in a tag-based system in the ultimate funnel, then they would be removed from any webinar promotions because they opted in. If they didn't opt in to the diamond, Decision Diamond is what we call it in Infusionsoft, but this is relatable to any and all platforms. It is the goal. So right now our goal is the webinar. We can also, of course, use that next to send people and the freebie the same email. Hey, maybe you didn't catch this replay, and or maybe your freebie is really giving them a problem solution in the email, and then getting on a one-on-one phone call, or the next could be a video reply. Hey, I see that you didn't sign up for the webinar and that you also didn't hop on, a free discovery call. One of the biggest issues I hear from many of you, and I struggle with that too, to get on a one-on-one call, they have to see the value. I know you know the value. The key to digital marketing is the communication of the message, the pain, the pleasure, and the promise, the 3 Ps. So you could do a video response, and or you can combine those 2 tags, the same list, and say anyone for the freebie or the webinar, and even my newsletter list, I'm going to send a general replay. Those are a little more advanced, what I call opportunities, but many of you are there. And that's why for those of you who are up leveling and really tweaking your funnel, this is where it gets extremely fun. For those of you at the infancy, don't overthink it or don't step into overwhelm, which also halts your launch and or your creative flow to tap into the needs of your ideal client. So this can be a replay in the lives. This could even be an email leading to a group where you are hosting those lives. You can go live with StreamYard, which I'm using right now, and or Zoom webinar feature. We also know that Facebook has messenger groups. I'm not going to get into the specific platforms that takes a long time. I want to expand each one of you to think about the many possibilities and also seeing where you're missing in the buyer behavior. Ideally, our goal, our big diamond is to get that person to buy the product, but also for us to know if that person doesn't buy my 12-month membership or my masterclass, what is a downsell and or upsell opportunity. So just in the freebie, there's so many funnel mess opportunities, which a funnel is really just about a conversation based on pain, having somebody identify, really speaking to them on a personal level, showing social proof and or an interview. It can also, of course, be the ultimate funnel cycle of your business, meaning the freebie can, of course, go to the webinar. The webinar can, of course, speak the webinar invites. You can lead them into the same group. Lead them into the same group where you're doing the lives. Maybe you're doing a series of pre-lives, the actual webinar, and post-lives, which is what I highly suggest. In a world of mass information, where we are often failing as business owners is we don't pre-qualify, pre-teach. And then we don't solidify the one offer that we've worked our tail off, and we let it just sit in theory and collect dust because we didn't get the conversion. So we think we failed. The only place where we fail is that we haven't played out enough buyer avatar habits, and also really thought about the person who needs to understand a little more about what you do and see you consistently talking about the benefits, which is the promise, the pain, and the pleasures. What does that person desire? Some people, I'm one of those, my avatar that I have named for myself and this woman is Jane. And we often need more to buy because we do feel jaded. We had our own experiences with the system, and the list goes on of why that buyer, me and or Jane, is a little different than Sally. So Jane does come into the webinar because Sally took the freebie route. We still can have a very similar language. That is, hey, so awesome. Great. I'm so glad you're coming to webinar on June. Let me just see what date. If we were to just say in theory, because only in theory can we understand and really marinate on the ultimate launch process. I'm going to say, yeah, you're coming on June 25th. To this, hey, here's your pre-webinar homework. Those 3 lives that you did as lives, they can be in a group. You can bring them to that group so they get started and they're getting excited and they're actually taking action. Action steps create wins. Hey, come in here on this week. So you define the week, hence you know the dates of your lives, which every one of you do. The thing is, are you doing it strategically? Most often the answer is no, or yes, or maybe. There's always tweaking to the process. And that is where you get into the 6-figure stage, the multiple. It's because you're tweaking processes that are proven and always thinking about your ideal client. Same structure. We know our lives. We know the 3 lives. We know some little handouts. We can also engage our main list and bring them back to not just, hey, come for this workshop. You can even in the PS say, hey, if you want to see what this is about and you're one of those doubters like me, it's all good. Click here to access the lives and this freebie, which could even be in your group. You're then creating consistency for yourself. You're creating a goal in your group, which ultimately creates amazing engagement. You might even be the one that has gone to the second phase of this and said, hey, yeah, over these 3 lives and my post workshop lives, I'm going to name the topics and I'm going to give little handouts, which then in your group really cultivates an amazing culture, which you're teaching, you're pre-teaching, which you're already having to do to lead people to a workshop, but you're using your content in a really strategic way. So that's in the pre-buzz. The webinar, you could go directly into the group. And if you weren't doing this virtually in a group, you could, of course, have this on a Google Doc and say, here's video 1, 2, 3. You can do this in a download membership platform area. It's just giving people the roadmap and the steps, which you guys know because you always ask me. And I nailed it for my clients showing this. And then I thought, that's it, Rach. Show them how simple this is to actually not just focus on the launch, but use the content from that webinar and even content from the 12-month showcasing, building the buzz, creating your post lives, which are really about showing the product, the behind the scenes, the what you can get, the reason that you created this, the pain your person feels. And of course, their pleasure, which you're saying, when you join here, this is what I know will work because you do believe in, because that is the promise. And the why that you created this is to solve X issues for your ideal client. So those post lives, it may be in the replays and also the marketing emails that you are, of course, leading people to a one-on-one. Some people do need to connect with you. That can be done on Zoom, Facebook, Messenger, Instagram, Messenger. There are so many different ways, DM, PM, doing lives, bringing them over to a blog and having 4 lives there without even creating a whole nother landing page or a lot of busy work that does drain and deplete us. And the goal, of course, is is that they buy it. Well, if they don't buy it, and or if that person comes in a direct contact, meaning they DM you, they PM you, you can easily say to somebody, hey, yeah, I'm doing this webinar on this date. Do you want me to add you this list? You can also say, here, click right here, just sign up, because they are already interested. If you wanted to lead them to the page, you can, but you can also really make it a one-on-one connection. A lot of coaches do this in their DMs, in their PMs, in their swipe up features. The possibilities are really limitless when we depersonalize. We stop thinking that we don't know enough. We get into what I call like the Tony Robbins success mindset and say, I can do anything as long as I take the overwhelm out. And I really look at the facts. And the facts are your business. And where we often get lost is we create one amazing pitch message. And so we solo focus. Where I want you to do is to expand your mind, go into infinite possibilities versus finite, like Simon Sinek speaks about constantly, because in a world of digital marketing, until we have hard, cold data, we don't know, again, the behaviors of our client. We are making an assumption, which is why many of you are exhausted, because you're not doing this with your own business. So ideally, of course, they are getting on a one-on-one call. I might close them right away to the benefits and the promise of my 12 months. I have them there. Why not? Of course. And then I will come back and answer this later. Michelle, I wanted to really show my superpower to you, and that it is not as difficult. A lot of us are focusing on, I will say, the crap that we shouldn't be focusing on, especially at any time of a business, because we don't ever know what's proven. Before it is a lot of, it feels overwhelming because the truth is we do have to be in a lot of different places. But if we do it strategically, if we allow ourselves, and I will just tell you the process, Michelle and anyone else that is listening, the process I do with my one-on-one clients, it's the same process that I just showed you. We sit there and we say, what are we selling? We reverse engineer. Okay, so what are we selling? The next question is, what does my ideal client need to know about me, how I teach, why I did this, my personal story, just like I always show you, all my life right next to me at, a finger drop, alpha lipoic acid, the why I invest my time in teaching this. And that is an emotional response. It's also a real, physical response as well, meaning, hey, the emotional is why I did it. The pain, the physical is, the results that I got for myself, the results that I got for clients, why I know this has worked, why I don't believe in some of the teachings out there, and why. If I don't believe in the teaching of Andre Moritz with a liver cleanse, because for people like me with ulcerative colitis and a myriad of other issues, from genetic to all these different aspects on how I developed my system for my clients, it's because everything in theory should work. But we know as wellness entrepreneurs that there are so many pieces to the puzzle that affect how our body reacts, metabolizes, synthesizes emotionally and physically. Hence, it would be crazy for me to say, oh yeah, I do agree with it. I don't. And I have my own reasons that I have learned from self, that I've heard from clients who have gone to hell and back doing that. And that is why I developed different signature processes for my clients, because they did come to me with multi issues, and many of you are experiencing that. So now, Rach, relate this back. That means that when you're thinking about what you're offering, take the time to brainstorm. Why is my signature process different? We're not talking signature program. That's one element of your business, because we have to say, what do I need to teach now, 6 weeks before, for the two, I call it the 2, and 2 process. 2 weeks of really testing out, what are my ideal clients struggling with? We ask high leverage questions. We ask them in the emails. We're not pushing them to anything. We're saying things like, hey, I did this video for you. And we put that into an email. Maybe we do that live and we say, hey, if you're struggling, drop, a 1 if it's gut issues, drop a 2 if it's hormone, drop a 3 if your hair is falling out. We start to see where our ideal client is struggling. And most importantly, if we do have clients, we get 5 to 10 on the phone right away in that time. We know that our end goal is our launch start date. So then from the launch start date, not the webinar date, but when the webinar date, and then when we actually open cart, and how long do we open cart? What extra bonuses? What incentives? What case studies do we need to share? Social proof. All the thing you see the pros do, you're a pro too. This just takes sitting down and giving yourself a good week to craft the plan, craft the dates. So I always sit with my clients and say, great, tell me why this is really important. Tell me why this other person, your ideal client, shouldn't just get a book. So we create a list of all the pain points that she knows and she hears from people. Only you as a wellness entrepreneur can say that. And if you've never coached, if you're brand new, drop a new below. You're in the infancy stage, but guess what? You're also not, because you came into this business because you had that pain, or you witnessed the pain, or you're an empath or a feeler and you feel the pain, or you're a caretaker. None of you just entered this business not knowing. So you write all that down. You write down the desires, the pleasures, and then you write down the promise of your program, your lives, your freebies, your product. We're working with you one-on-one. Then after you do that, which really should take about 48 hours at most, because truth is, once we step into that success mindset, we let go of imposter syndrome. Our purpose trumps our fear. Our why is bigger than anything. And we take a deep breath. And then we say, now let me formulate the dates around everything. Date for the pre-marketing and the pre-buzz and the awareness, that 2-week testing, date for the next 2 weeks, which is the push to the webinar or the challenge or whatever that is. And then in this example, we did a freebie, but that's still a call to action. You might find that it's not the freebie to the webinar, it's the freebie with its own funnel. And that doesn't have to be complicated. Many of you are doing this already on social media. You're just not bringing it into one document or one email. So you feel frustrated. Then you're going to define, of course, the webinar, the workshop, because that's really the bread and the butter. Of course, gluten-free and almond butter. That is the bread and butter. The freebie is it's what I call a love tap. It's putting your hand forward, but it's also saying, well, if this person like Jane is not, like Sally is not going to opt in for the webinar, I'm going to love her up with a few freebies, some handouts, some checklists, because I'm not sure yet what are Sally's pain points. And even many of my ideal clients, because how many of you drop a yes below if you're exhausted with your Facebook ads not converting, yet you've paid a shitload of money to either take a course or to hire that person or even to invest? How many times have you boosted and it didn't really pay off? It's not the boost. It's not the algorithms. It's actually the message. So that's where you take those 2 weeks and you really dive deeper. Cool. I know that my webinar is about this. What should these cool checklists and handouts and homework? And again, as we discussed, this could all be in a group. So not only you're driving them to a freebie, driving them to a webinar, you're driving them to the group where you're also taking the same process and bleeding it out in there. Hence, also, you're making all the same work. You're just preaching it about in a lot of different places because we don't know the behavior habits of people, especially during unprecedented times, election years, uncertain times. And guess what? We're in a triple threat right now, but we don't look at that. We don't get discouraged. We instead think about our ideal client because she is struggling. We just don't know her habits because she may have been on Facebook. Maybe she's not right now. Maybe she doesn't have time to go in a group. And then, of course, we have the webinar or the challenge. We get the replay. Most often, as I said earlier, people need to really hear it, just like putting a new food in front of a child. They don't just take the food, maybe small percentage, but usually it's anywhere from like 7 to 10 times. Those extra lives further support the promise. Some of you might do 5 lives. I guarantee you're doing them anyway. This actually lessens the adrenal hustle, which I know well, and allows you to compartmentalize the processes. So then after a full week, and I know that sounds like a lot of thinking, but it's in that thinking and feeling that uncomfortability that we truly embrace our 6-figure business, because we're not just worried about the one call to action, otherwise known as a CTA. We're really thinking habits and behaviors of human psychology and people in different times, different ages, different economy, all different, all their avatar. So then we have a full throttle plan. To recap, 2 weeks, 2 weeks, 2 weeks. For some of you, it's going to be a little faster because you have a little more awareness, and not everyone needs to do a 6-week launch plan, especially right now where maybe you're doing smaller classes, and that gets lessened when you're crystal clear on the promise. So it might be 4 weeks where you're promoting and you're building the buzz, you're bringing them to the webinar, then you open cart for the last 2 weeks. And that's the time that you're also probably doing, hint, hint, behind the scenes, lives, and or pre-recorded videos. Not everyone can make it for a live in busy times. And so if you find, or even you are pushed up against the wall and you're exhausted, I know that I've rehabbed my business and had to do this. Just what are people's behaviors? Do they have a lot of time? Are my people on Facebook right now? Are they better with having email communication? Or is it great for me to launch actually, hey, join this group and get these lives versus the standard webinar conversion on a Facebook ad, which can be anywhere from $8 to $15. So you may want to go with this different approach also to build that awareness, get people on, get people connecting with you so that you don't have to invest as much into Facebook ads. There's all these different possibilities for those of you working with a business coach, a strategist, a virtual assistant, team members. These are the essential questions to mind map and brainstorm and have a think tank. The most successful businesses in the world take time to brainstorm and do a think tank before there's implementation. Because if we don't brainstorm and think tank, the implementation most often is not correct. I've learned that the hard way. Many people that I work with still make that mistake because it does require us to slow down, believe in ourselves, adopt the success mindset, and then trust our gut and give direction after we have done a think tank with our people. And if you don't have a team, do a think tank with some of your best friends who are your ideal client, your family members, people who support you, even people in a peer group. Because guess what? I guarantee you know everything you need to know. And what often happens is the pre-buzz, the pre-marketing, the post-marketing doesn't have an exact strategy. And so all of your hard work goes to nothing. Not only do you not make money, but you don't change the lives of people that you so desperately want to. So at the end of the day, in a finite recap, is know where you are in your business. If you're a new coach, keep it simple. You don't know yet what your ideal client is struggling with, so there's no point to create this really extensive launch plan unless you naturally do that. Number 2, if you do know your ideal client and maybe you've failed before, which I would say is the majority of us, and we don't know, what has worked, try something different. The definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over and expecting different results. You could just with clarity, and I'll go back to the exact image that we shared. You can, of course, do this on a whiteboard. It's why many of you see me draw pictures when you're either speaking or I'm doing a strategy call. This just takes a little more formatting. You can do it in a pretty, Canva template. You can do this also on PowerPoint, but I love to just chicken scratch this on a journal because in that journaling process, or put pictures on a wall, create the funnel, buy a one of those whiteboards on Amazon that you can write on. That's what Russell Brunson does. For some of you, you are very visual. The most of the world is. It's the reason why I'm saying your client needs to hear from you. If you didn't even have any strategy, guess what? Bottom line, content strategy is simply about diving into the pain, the pleasure, and the promise, and making your content feed around each one of those topics. So you see, like I discussed earlier with the freebie and the different images, that's split testing. You're testing. And so at the infancy of your business, we're always testing. And at the advanced growth levels, we're always testing. So take the time, give yourself 1 week. If you have a shorter deadline, great, give yourself 72 hours because it really doesn't take a lot. It just takes expanding to the infinite versus the finite. Guys, it's been a pleasure to be here. You can expect this video to be on my blog within the next 24 to 48 hours, and it is June 9th. If you're looking for any content, you can go to yourhealthcoachbiz.com. If you're looking for an example of what our work is like and more of these trainings, go to rachelafeldman.com /free tools. Download How Do You Build the Like, Know, and Trust Factor. That's on how do you create a low-cost offer on my free tool. That even gives you a free gift. The other is a challenge. I take you through lower level to higher level on how we build trust, how we speak to our ideal client, and how we train ourselves to think like this. That's all it is. This is school. It's really a training to have our brains think like this versus the overwhelmed mindset. It's truly a pleasure and an opportunity. And my big why is to change this world. It's no different from when I started. Each one of us have to learn the basics so that we can message to our ideal client. They connect with us. They follow us a little more. Then they actually convert to our call to action for your paid. Keep it that simple. Don't overcomplicate. That's why we became coaches, because in a world of overcomplication of health issues, it shouldn't be that difficult, and yet it is. So please let go of what you think you know. Be open, be coachable, not just even by me, of leaders in the industry, and watch how businesses market to you. Mind Body Green, Amazon, Whole Foods, some of your favorite places that you shop, market to constantly. Be aware of how they are. Do you land at the website and it says, here, click here to get a 15%? Any of you can do that. That takes, of course, a little more structure and a little more mind thinking. But guess what? Many of you have virtual assistants and they're not accentuating your business. Those are the very areas that a lot of virtual assistants go, oh, I totally know how to do that. But we need to know what direction to give people. Most importantly, sit with soul, then sit with strategy, then do heart-based selling. It's been a pleasure, guys. And big virtual hug. Deep breath. Say, oh my God, I'm not an imposter. I'm not going to let this. I am. And do your I am statements, your I am affirmations. Create your vision board. Create your avatar vision board. Start to really see her. Make her a part of your life, or him, or the family, or whatever, whomever you work with. Because when you're writing that social media post, the email, the anything, you're writing to this person. It's been a pleasure to be with you. And let's do this, guys. Big love. I will see you guys later. Have a good one. Bye.